Have you ever said something and instantly wished you could rewind time? We've all been there. That moment when your words feel like an arrow that's already left the bow, impossible to take back. But what if you could master your speech so that every word you speak exudes wisdom, precision, and inner strength? That's exactly what we're exploring today. 6 things an intelligent person never says, all drawn from the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Stoicism teaches us that words aren't just sounds, they're reflections of our intellect and values. From steering clear of meaningless bragging to understanding the power of silence, these habits don't just improve how you communicate, they shape who you are. And the best part? By the end of this video, you'll gain practical insights that will instantly elevate the way you speak, whether it's in the workplace, among friends, or even in your own thoughts. So get ready. This isn't just about the words you say, it's about how they shape you. Don't miss this, because we're about to embark on a journey that will change the way you understand the true power of speech. 1. Avoid boasting about knowledge. Have you ever met someone who just couldn't stop talking about their knowledge and achievements? They go on and on about everything they've learned, the books they've read, and the lessons they've picked up along the way. At first, it might seem impressive, even fascinating, but over time, that initial admiration fades into distance, not because their knowledge isn't valuable, but because the way they present it makes others feel overshadowed. Stoic philosophy teaches that true wisdom doesn't need to be put on display. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nature does not boast about what it creates, and neither should we take credit for our wisdom." This isn't just a piece of advice, it's a way of living. Let me tell you a story. I once had a friend named John, an expert in the tech field. In meetings and social gatherings, he always tried to be the smartest person in the room. He'd bring up major projects he had worked on, the advanced technologies he had mastered, and the awards he had won. At first, people were intrigued, but as time passed, they began to feel like John was turning every discussion into a personal showcase. One day, a colleague spoke to him candidly, telling him that while his knowledge was impressive, the way he shared it was alienating others. That moment became a turning point for John. He realized that in his attempt to impress, he was unintentionally creating distance. This is a common trap that many fall into. The next time you feel the urge to share your knowledge or achievements, ask yourself, why? If your goal is to contribute to the conversation or help others, that's great. But if it's driven by a desire for recognition or admiration, it may be time to pause and reconsider. Boasting not only diminishes the impact of your words, but it also builds an invisible wall between you and those around you. Instead of inspiring people, you risk making them feel judged or measured against your intellect. Stoic philosophy offers a better approach. First, let your actions speak louder than your words. If you truly possess knowledge, it will naturally be evident in your work and problem-solving abilities. Second, embrace humility. Humility doesn't mean downplaying your abilities. It means allowing others to recognize your value through genuine interaction and experience. And finally, learn to listen. When you listen, you're not just absorbing new knowledge, you're also showing respect and fostering deeper connections. Listening in itself is a powerful form of silence, one that the Stoics deeply valued. Silence isn't a lack of wisdom, it's a sign of confidence and understanding. John slowly but surely took this lesson to heart. He started talking less about himself and focusing more on others, their stories, their ideas, their perspectives. Instead of dominating conversations, he contributed with humility and made an effort to truly listen. Over time, people gravitated toward him, not just for his intelligence, but for his sincerity and collaborative spirit. He showed that knowledge isn't something to flaunt, it's something to share in a way that uplifts those around you. Avoiding boastfulness doesn't mean withholding your insights. It means presenting them in a way that fosters respect and connection. Stoic philosophy reminds us that our words are a reflection of our character. When you choose humility over arrogance, you don't just enrich your own life, you elevate the lives of those around you. So ask yourself, what do your words say about you? The answer to that question will shape your path to real growth. 2. Never dismiss others' opinions. Have you ever been in a conversation where your opinion was brushed aside before you even had the chance to explain? It's a frustrating experience, one that makes you feel like all the effort and thought you put into your words were completely disregarded. And the worst part? You might even start doubting yourself, wondering, is what I'm saying really not valuable? I know that feeling all too well, because at one point I was the one causing it. Early in my leadership role, I was confident in my ability to make quick judgments. During one meeting, a colleague suggested an idea to improve our workflow. Without a second thought, I interrupted, immediately dismissing it as impractical. I believed I was saving everyone time. What I didn't notice was the awkward silence that followed, the hesitant glances exchanged around the room, and the way enthusiasm for new ideas seemed to fade. Later, a trusted colleague pulled me aside and said, "Maybe you should have listened a little longer. That idea wasn't as bad as it sounded at first." That comment hit me hard. It was a wake-up call. Not only had I overlooked a potential opportunity, but I had also unintentionally created an atmosphere where people felt reluctant to share their thoughts. Stoic philosophy teaches that true wisdom comes from openness, not arrogance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You cannot learn what you think you already know." When you dismiss someone's opinion without really listening, you're not just shutting down creativity, you're also weakening trust and connection. And the cost of that? You don't just miss out on valuable ideas, you undermine your own leadership. From that moment on, I started approaching conversations differently. In future meetings, I reminded myself that listening doesn't mean agreeing, it means showing respect and opening yourself to learning. Even if an idea didn't seem promising at first, I gave it space. To my surprise, that small shift led to breakthrough solutions I had never even considered. Here's a mindset shift to try. Instead of immediately thinking, "How can I counter this idea?" ask yourself, "What can I learn from this?" Even ideas that seem flawed often contain hidden insights. And even if they don't, you still gain something valuable, a better understanding of how someone else views the problem. And that understanding, it's powerful. Second, practice humility. Stoicism reminds us that we are not the center of the universe. Dismissing someone else's perspective is, at its core, an act of putting your own viewpoint above all others, as if you alone hold the ultimate truth. But the reality is, no one person has all the answers. True wisdom is found in collaboration, in the exchange of ideas. After I changed my approach, the entire atmosphere in our meetings shifted. I started asking more questions, encouraging even the quietest voices to share their thoughts. The result? Not only did we generate better ideas, but the team also felt more valued and connected. I came to realize that every person in their own way has something to teach me, something I had been missing because of my own impatience and overconfidence. In the end, refusing to dismiss others' opinions isn't just an act of kindness, it's a strategy. When you genuinely respect the perspectives of those around you, you unlock a world of new ideas, insights, and opportunities. You build trust. You create an environment where true innovation can thrive. As the Stoics believed, wisdom isn't about proving you're right. It's about understanding that everyone, in their unique way, carries a piece of the truth. And that understanding, that is the essence of true wisdom. This keeps the original intent and flow, just lightly reworded for a fresh but natural feel. Let me know if you need any refinements. 3. Refrain from complaining without purpose. Picture someone like Peter, a seasoned professional juggling a demanding job, family responsibilities, and the unexpected challenges life inevitably throws his way. But instead of facing these obstacles with a constructive mindset, Peter has developed a habit of constant complaining. Whether it's the inefficiency of his co-workers or the office coffee machine that's always out of order, his grievances seem endless. At first, his colleagues sympathized, even offering possible solutions. But as the weeks turned into months, the negativity began to take its toll. Conversations with Peter became exhausting, and people slowly started to distance themselves, not because they didn't care, but simply because they couldn't handle the constant stream of complaints. Then, one day during a lunch break, a friend said something that stopped Peter in his tracks. "I get that you're frustrated, but what are you actually doing to fix these problems?" That question lingered in Peter's mind. He realized he wasn't seeking solutions, he was venting without purpose. Worse, his constant negativity wasn't just pushing others away, it was reinforcing his own sense of helplessness. This scenario is all too familiar. It's easy to fall into the habit of voicing frustrations without considering the impact on ourselves or those around us. But Stoic philosophy offers a powerful remedy. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you cannot. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Complaining about things beyond our control only magnifies feelings of powerlessness, trapping us in a cycle of negativity. However, not all complaints are inherently bad. When directed towards solutions, they can drive real change. But when they lack purpose, they become nothing more than empty noise, draining energy while solving nothing. Think about it. Complaining about traffic doesn't make the roads clearer, and grumbling about the weather won't stop the rain. Intelligent individuals understand this distinction and instead channel their energy into what truly matters. So how do you break free from the habit of meaningless complaining? Start by asking yourself a simple question whenever frustration arises. What can I do about this? If the answer is nothing, then let it go. Venting about things beyond your control wastes time and robs you of inner peace. Instead, redirect that energy towards something productive, whether it's reading, reflecting, or practicing gratitude for what's going well in your life. Another powerful strategy is to reframe your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why does this always happen to me?" try shifting to, "What can I learn from this?" Stoicism teaches us that every challenge presents an opportunity for growth. Complaints blind us to these lessons, while reflection helps us uncover them. Returning to Peter, he took his friend's advice to heart and began shifting his mindset. Rather than complaining about his manager, he started preparing well-thought-out solutions to the challenges at work. Instead of grumbling about his long commute, he used that time to listen to audiobooks or practice mindfulness. Over time, his outlook transformed. His words carried more weight because they were no longer clouded with negativity. His relationships improved, and colleagues began seeking his advice and company, drawn to his calm, solution-oriented demeanor. Ultimately, refraining from purposeless complaining is about reclaiming your power. When you focus on what you can control, you not only strengthen your mind, but also enhance your influence on those around you. Stoic philosophy reminds us that our words and thoughts are tools, and when used wisely, They can build a life of resilience, purpose, and deep connection with others. Letting go of empty complaints and embracing constructive action doesn't just change how others see you, it transforms your entire life. 4. No empty promises. Promises carry a unique weight in our lives. They shape expectations, build trust, and define relationships. Yet, how often do we make promises without fully considering whether we can actually follow through? While usually unintentional, this habit can erode credibility and weaken connections over time. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of aligning words with actions, reminding us that integrity isn't about saying much, it's about delivering what we say. Take Greg, for example, a dedicated professional in his 50s balancing a demanding career and family life. He was well-meaning but had a habit of overcommitting. He'd promise his team he'd review reports by Monday or assure his family he'd be home for dinner, only to fall short time and again. At first, people excused his behavior, chalking it up to his busy schedule. But as the unfulfilled promises piled up, so did the frustrations. His team began second-guessing his commitments, and his family grew weary of his constant excuses. The trust he once took for granted was slowly fading. Then, one evening after missing yet another family event, Greg found a note on his desk from his teenage daughter. It read, "We just want you to mean it when you say it." That simple message hit him hard. He realized that despite his good intentions, his empty promises were doing more harm than good. They weren't just inconveniences, they were chipping away at the trust and respect he had worked so hard to build. This story underscores a fundamental Stoic principle: speak with intention and act with integrity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Let your words be plain and true." Promises aren't just about appeasing the moment, they are commitments that tie our words to our character. Breaking a promise, even unintentionally, is like writing a check that your credibility can't cash. How to avoid empty promises. So how can we break the habit of making empty promises while still nurturing trust and respect? Pause before committing. Before making a promise, ask yourself, do I have the time, resources, and energy to fulfill this? If the answer is uncertain, it's better to set realistic expectations than to overpromise and underdeliver. Instead of saying, "I'll definitely have this ready by tomorrow," try, "I'll aim to have it ready by tomorrow, but if I need more time, I'll let you know." Underpromise and overdeliver. Setting achievable goals and occasionally exceeding them builds a reputation for reliability. Imagine Greg telling his team he needed 3 days to review their reports, but completing them in 2. Such actions speak louder than words, demonstrating both competence and thoughtfulness. Embrace accountability. If you ever find yourself unable to keep a promise, address it directly. Apologize sincerely, explain the situation briefly, and propose a solution. This approach not only minimizes damage, but also shows respect for the other person's time and trust. Greg took these lessons to heart. He became more mindful of his commitments, learned to say no when necessary, and ensured that when he said yes, he meant it. Over time, his team regained confidence in him, and his family saw his efforts as genuine. More importantly, Greg felt a newfound sense of peace. His words carried weight, and his actions backed them up. In the end, avoiding empty promises isn't about being perfect. It's about being authentic and dependable. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength lies in integrity, where words and actions align seamlessly. By committing to this principle, you not only earn respect, but also cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships. Because ultimately, it's not the promises we make that define us, it's the ones we keep. 5. Don't deny your mistakes. Have you ever felt that admitting a mistake is like exposing a weakness? an open invitation for judgment? I used to think the same way, but one experience changed my perspective completely. Through Stoic philosophy, I learned that acknowledging mistakes doesn't diminish your worth. It elevates you as someone who is honest, strong, and committed to growth. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone is able to prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone." A personal story. A few years ago, I was leading a major project at work. In my rush to meet a tight deadline, I overlooked critical details in a report. Those inaccuracies led to criticism from upper management, and my entire team felt the impact. When the mistake came to light, my first instinct was to make excuses, blaming the workload, the tight timeline, anything but myself. But deep down, I knew that denying responsibility would only erode the trust I had built. So I chose to own up to it. At the next meeting, I admitted my mistake, apologized to my team, and outlined clear steps to prevent it from happening again. The response surprised me. Instead of judgment, my colleagues respected my honesty. Some even thanked me for taking accountability and setting an example. That moment made me realize something important. Admitting my mistake didn't weaken me. It made me more trustworthy. Why owning up to mistakes is powerful. It builds trust. When you take responsibility, you show others that you value truth over ego. This strengthens relationships and encourages others to be honest as well. It encourages growth. Mistakes are not failures. They are opportunities to improve. By addressing them head-on, you learn and evolve. It shows confidence. Denying an obvious mistake doesn't make you look stronger. It makes you look unreliable. True confidence comes from having the courage to face reality. How to apply this in your life practice: self-awareness. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to point fingers. Instead, ask yourself, what was my role in this? Even if your part was small, owning it is the first step toward a solution. Focus on fixing the problem. Don't just say, "I'm sorry." Show through your actions that you are committed to making things right. Lead by example. When you admit your mistakes, you create a safe space for others to do the same. This fosters a culture of learning and trust. Final thought. The next time you make a mistake, don't hide or deflect. Pause. Take responsibility. Commit to doing better. Because the courage to admit your mistakes is what truly sets you apart and earns you respect. Would you rather be seen as someone who always tries to be right, or someone who has the strength to grow? 6. Don't overshare future plans. The Stoics emphasize that keeping promises isn't just about fulfilling obligations. It's about protecting your credibility and respecting others. Sharing your future plans too freely can create unnecessary pressure, dilute your focus, and even weaken your resolve to follow through. The hidden risk of oversharing. Meet Jim, a middle-aged professional with a warm demeanor and a habit of agreeing to almost anything. Whether it was helping a friend move, taking on extra work projects, or committing to every community event, Jim had a default response. "Sure, count me in." But as life got busier, those well-intentioned commitments piled up. He started forgetting plans, missing deadlines, and unintentionally letting people down. One day, a close friend invited him to a family dinner, an important occasion. Jim, as always, enthusiastically agreed. But later, he forgot and scheduled a work meeting at the same time. The next day, his friend expressed their disappointment. That was Jim's wake-up call. Jim wasn't unreliable out of malice. His words had simply lost weight. His well-meaning promises had become hollow, and they were damaging his relationships. The Stoic perspective. This story highlights a common mistake: oversharing or overcommitting in an attempt to please others. The Stoics teach that our words should be purposeful and aligned with our actions. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Authenticity and intention should guide every promise you make. Saying yes just to avoid awkwardness can often cause more harm than an honest no. Why you should be mindful of sharing. Future plans, unnecessary pressure. When you publicly declare plans, you might feel obligated to follow through, even if circumstances change. Diluted focus. Talking about a goal too soon can give you a false sense of accomplishment, reducing your motivation to actually achieve it. Eroded trust. If you often share plans and fail to execute, people may start doubting your commitments, even when you truly mean them. How to apply this in your life? Pause before committing. Before agreeing to something, ask yourself, can I realistically follow through? If not, a respectful no is better than a promise you can't keep. Prioritize quality over quantity. It's better to commit to fewer things and do them well than to spread yourself too thin. Say less, do more. Instead of talking about what you plan to do, focus on getting it done. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Understand that saying no is not selfish. Protecting your time and energy allows you to be more reliable in the commitments that truly matter. Jim's transformation. After his wake-up call, Jim started adopting a more mindful approach. He stopped making impulsive commitments and began focusing on delivering on the promises that truly mattered. Over time, his relationships improved. People respected him not for saying yes to everything, but for always following through on what he agreed to.